placing traps, killing orcs, and all of them must die. Welcome to my review of Orcs Must Die 3. Orcs Must Die 3 is a third-person tower defense game that has had two previous versions of the game come out. Let's find out if it has gotten better or worse. Orcs Must Die 3 has very good stability. I would even rate it as maybe a 9.9 on the stability and an overall improvement from the two previous versions in the series. Now, the one thing that I will be saying that doesn't make it a 10 at the very least on stability is, at least I'm sorry for this, but the recordings for some reason have come out very blurry and sometimes laggy. Now on my screen it was completely fine, so I don't know if it's the game or my computer, so I'm just going to put that out there. I haven't heard about any stability issues on PC from other people, but I'd rather mention it. Also, another part that I think kind of ties into more stability than anything is how the code can sometimes seem off. So you can sometimes have an orc that is attacking you and then they just leave you. Now, I can understand why the devs have done this and why it might be a yes and no, as in the orc will attack you and won't, because they don't want you just to basically be your own barricade and hold all the orcs up basically in one area so all your traps kill them. But at the same time, I would rather have one or the other, because sometimes you can use that to your advantage early on when there isn't many orcs and you can lock it down, but then later on you can't use it anyway because there's too many orcs and you can't heal enough. But overall, I'd give this ability a 9 out of 10, or 9.9. I'll probably give it a 9 just to make it easier, but it's a very minor thing, those two things I've talked about, because if you're not recording any gameplay, you're not actually going to care about the game, are you? And it's been roughly a year since the game came out. As for the graphics for Orcs Must Die, the graphics have improved tremendously, and also the other thing that comes into graphics is they've made the game very fresh with different maps, and then also other stuff like the DLC, which we'll get into later. But the characters are new, or there's at least 4 new ones. Well, sorry, 3 new ones. Two of them we already know, and then one of them is just a younger version of from the first one. So basically, I would give the graphics a good 9 out of 10. You can always make stuff look better, and it's always going to improve. But really, I think that a 9 out of 10 or a 9.9 again is a very fair score and is great. For simplicity, though, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 in the top right corner so that it makes it more simple. But again, I would say that the graphics have improved a lot, and it's good to see that even though Orcs Must Die does not have stunning graphics like RTX, right, that they're still trying to improve the graphics, they're improving the stability, and I think so far, from what I've seen, I'm very impressed, and it is what we've all been wanting for years from another series for the Orcs Must Die 3 that the community has wanted. The replayability of Orcs Must Die is nearly a straight 10 out of 10. Again, another great category that the developers of Orcs Must Die 3 have done, and I love it. I love the replayability. You can take 1 day break from it, and because there are so many traps and maps, traps and maps kind of rhymes, sorry, but because there's so many traps and maps, you can get really creative on how you're killing the orcs and what the different combinations that you can use, which, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think that's what half of Orcs Must Die is, and that's what makes Orcs Must Die such a fan favourite between people who play it, is because you have so much replayability. It does not even matter if you go through the campaign, for instance, and then just be like, okay, I've done it in a day. You know, you can go straight to that campaign again, doing one specific set of traps, or you can hop from first level to the next level, switching up your traps once you unlock all of them or most of them, and you just find that nice enjoyment in basically having different types of traps and seeing that you're being successful with different combinations on different maps. Orcs Must Die has a campaign and a multiplayer. Play with your friends, but within the multiplayer, you have to select the level you want, and then also go to the specified right, and then invite them to your lobby. You can also do this with the DLC maps as well, so the whole game is basically multiplayer. You can also do this with the weekly challenges, which are named Scrabble, which you have 5 tiers of progressively harder waves to beat. Endless, which is basic, you keep going through waves until you lose all your points from the rift. And then weekly challenges, which are challenges they set and loadouts. An example of one of the challenges is that you basically lose health every second, but every time you kill an orc, you then gain health back. So on this category, I would give it a good 9 out of 10 again. The reason being is because there's a lot of variety here. There's not one thing, just the campaign or just the multiplayer. And if you want, the game modes and challenges will keep it fresh, and again add into the replayability of the game. And I think this is very important when you come to look at a game, especially if you're paying a full price for a game and you're not getting it on a discount. You want a bit more replayability and you don't want to get bored straight away. As of this date, on June the 16th, 2022, Orcs Must Die comes with 2 map packs, which are called Cold as Eyes and Tipping the Scales. These map packs, I can say confidently and gladly, come with the same benefits as the main game, as in they are very stable, they're reliable, you got the replayability, and the graphics are just as good. So that means that you don't have to worry about any of that. It's like having a base game. The other thing that these DLCs bring are new traps and maps, and also new enemies. So again, plays back into the replayability of the game as a whole. And I would rate the DLC again a 9 out of 10 because of all the points that I have basically suggested previously for the DLC and the main game. As of June the 16th, 2022, Orcs Must Die 3 is worth £23.79. It is also available on Stadia, Microsoft Store, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X. This means that you can have a wide range of being able to play Orcs Must Die 3 and also have fun. So if you're like me, a PC user, you don't have to worry if you don't like Steam or the Microsoft Store, you have one or the other. And then also if you're on a console, you have a wide range of being able to find and play it and download it from your respective store. So we have come to the end of this review, Orcs Must Die. Now to do a quick summary so everyone involved or anyone watching kind of knows what I'm thinking and feeling and how much I would rate the whole of the game out of 10. Now, I think on the good side, we have the community is nice and helpful, because I did post a Reddit post to ask a question. You've got better graphics than the two previous games in the series, sorry. The maps are very good, they're different, etc. DLC is different, it involves different traps, enemies, etc. There's new traps as well in the base game as well, so that is very good. The replayability of the game is as good as ever, and I would consider that absolute top notch in what you want for a tower defense game. And as I discussed before, there are lots of different game modes, which means that the replayability again is good, but sometimes having replayability is not about making one mode, it is about having loads. Now onto the bad, the orcs sometimes ignore you and walk past you and sometimes attack you. So the reason I'm putting this down is because I feel like they could have done a bit of a better job. They could have maybe, you know, just done it so that you had an option to change this, basically, instead of just putting it in the game as, okay, the code says this and this, right? Options are always good. And then when I've done these recordings, as I said, instability, I don't know if it's just my computer or not, but I'd like to bring it up to make sure, and the recordings just seemed blurry. Those two things are so small though, so for the overall actual rating out of 10 for this game, I am going to give Orcs Must Die 3 a 9.5 out of 10. Because of these small bits, it doesn't matter that much, but it's something to take into consideration. And I don't think a game can ever be a 10 out of 10 anyway. So I always like to see some bad things. Now some traps might be weaker, but I feel like that is basically another discussion for another day. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Orcs Must Die 3. See you around, guys.